Hello, welcome to episode number 23 of Comprehending Consciousness. This episode is dedicated to the poverty consciousness, also known as a lack mentality. It also falls into category with victimization or victimhood or institutionalization, I guess I'm going to call it. So all of these conditions are a energetic or vibratory frequency, a mood that we can hold, an energy that we send out into the universe, the ether around us. It permeates continuously 24/7 always. It's a working between the conscious and subconscious mind with all of your bodies, your physical body, spiritual body, and that mind body, right? So it has a wide variety of areas that it controls and has an impact on or can affect. So if you're new to my channel and you're new to Comprehending Consciousness, this series itself, then welcome and thank you for tuning in. If you are new to awakening, to the spiritual world, to the new age, all these kind of things that's sort of progressing out there, this series is a hopes of kind of bridging the gap between the 3D and, what we're calling the 5D. So each video I do a little, term or phrase and give a tour of the iceberg. Sort of give you the lay of the land, see what the mainstream is sort of describing the term as, and usually kind of give my own sort of definition of it, or maybe the problems I see with the mainstream version of the term. So that's why I created this series. If you are new, this is 23, so I have 22 other episodes you could go check out on my BitChute and YouTube channels. I have playlists for both of them there. We go over all types of topics, woke, asleep, red-pilled, duality, non-duality, sovereignty, all these kind of things that are really starting to be talked about and have really good conversations sort of on the fringe. So with all that said, thank you for joining me for this episode, and I am going to try to talk briefly about the poverty consciousness. Sorry, my chair. Ooh. Limited space. So what is poverty consciousness? Sometimes we hear in a lot of the sort of self-help, ascension, soul evolution kind of avenue, a lot of people talking about lack mentality or feeling like a victim, feeling like nothing ever works for them, right? And it can be really, a really deep pit of quicksand if you start to get into it. So there, is a huge ground for working for so many of us around this. And in extension, that means, unfortunately, in the 3D matrix that we reside in, right, that there's a huge ground for making money around the topic of poverty consciousness, lack mentality, all of these things. I chose to do this right after Abundance. If you haven't seen Abundance, go check that out, because it really ties so strongly into this lack mentality. So without reiterating too much about last episode's Abundance, right? But in case you didn't see it, abundance is not anything that comes from external items or material things or stockpiling of goods or preservation of resources. It's not tangible. There's not like a threshold of items that you make it to that then you're abundant, or you're allowed to feel abundant, or you should feel abundant. Yes, society, cultures and even a huge inversion area of the New Age spiritual movement will make you feel like that is not correct. That you do need to do X, Y, and Z in order to be abundant, and or to prove your abundance, right? And that in itself, like I said, it's an inversion, it's a trap. So if we pull it back and look at the truth of abundance in itself, the most common layer that we could all easily tap into and reside within and pull from is sovereign worth. And what do I mean by that? If you haven't heard me talk about that before or anything, it's the gift of life, right? The agreement that because we are alive, experiencing these individual bubbles of reality, somehow we have a sacred border around each of us, and we live our life. We are a being of experience here. We are, whether you choose to believe we're sacred creator beings or whatever, you just think we're just life, humans, and we've evolved like by some kind of chance through monkeys or whatever, or aliens, or whatever you choose to believe. It doesn't even matter. But the point is that sovereign worth can be easily bestowed at point of conception of life. The fact that you're alive experiencing life gives you sovereign worth. That's it. And in that sovereign worth is abundance, because what is abundance at itself is limitlessness. It is eternity, infiniteness, infinity. And it's a very hard thing for us to grasp and understand. However, if you have faith in oneness and source and creator, in a before or a beginning, then that's all you need. Because that in itself tells you where, meaning and love and everything comes from source. And that connection, knowing and having faith in that, is where abundance can easily just come from. Sovereign worth can come from that, and you are instantly fulfilled. You can feel purpose and unlimited energy, positivity, love for yourself, love for creator, love for the chance at this life. All those things are easily accessible to every soul, every person. And that's why I think it's the truth. And that's why I feel that's true abundance, and that's a real definition. And it ties into sovereign worth. Because the truth is plain and simple, right? Like I've talked about so many times, it's templates. And the templates in themselves, the structuring is very simple. It's very clear to see, to define, to repeat. But it's not mindless repetition. It's a template for creators to use and make their own. Just like if you give a kindergarten class everybody a chance to draw, whatever picture, draw an owl. They're all going to draw their own little unique version of it. Yeah, they have the template or the assignment of the thing to do, but everyone puts their unique thumbprint on that. That makes it super unique, individual, That is the beauty of creation. That's, the mystery, the gift, the whole thing. And so when we understand that, we can tap into that. We realize, and we can come to realize and work with an understanding that can take very long, very many years sometimes. For speaking from my own experience, it can take many years to really peel back the layers and understand that notion, and working that no matter what, we are worthy. No matter what we have, we are something. We are the gift, We're meant to be living the life that we're meant to be living, regardless of the items that we have or the situation we find ourselves in, the place and space in the world that we reside in. Doesn't matter. They're extras. They're added on top. If we see this golden foundation of eternal flame within every soul, right? The right to their conquest of whatever they see reality to be made as, right? That's the greatest gift. That's how we break out of poverty mentality. That's how we get out of this lack mentality, right? Poverty consciousness, whatever you want to use the phrase as, right? that's the keys to getting out of it, is tapping back into that and understanding that. However, the conditioning, the mind control, the brainwashing, the 3D negative overlay structuring that is just like really harnessed, pushed into all of us here from the start. This is what makes it so hard. And like I've said so many times, I do feel like it's an orchestrated thing happening. It's a larger system working to harness negative energy. And so, of course, they want to keep us inverted and keep us not quite understanding the real truth, being able to tap into it. They want us lost and confused and sort of chasing our tails, seeking false abundance, seeking to fulfill with material items. You know, just because we live in this solid material 3D, 4D world, you know, time included, 4D world, they really have the upper hand in trying to convince us all that, yes, only physical matter matters. Only solid things are real. Of course, abundance comes from how much money or things you have, or how big of a land you have, how high your fence is, how strong your barricades are. That's how secure and safe you are. That's how abundant, wealthy, worth life, worth power, and admiration and love and acceptance, whatever. All these things get tied in, right? When we talk about worth and wealth. And it's very beneficial to the negative agenda and to negative systems to have us focused in this incorrect way, and to be doing energy work and to be living life sort of within this alignment towards a negative orientation that it's just not beneficial to the truth, and it's not beneficial to soul growth or real evolution or real shadow work. But of course, you know, the shadow doesn't want us doing that. And sorry, I'm on a tangent about shadow work yet again in energy. But you've come here to learn about poverty consciousness, really. But if you are, I mean, chances are you're working with it. You're facing it in your life. I don't want to say you're suffering from it or a victim of it, because this is something that the mind control really wants us to view it as. So I like to look at it from a different angle. I find it super helpful when we feel bombarded with forced perspectives to say, hold on, wait a minute. Even if I almost might agree with this perspective, or I feel like it is right, let me hold on. Let me check it from another angle to see what it looks like, right? From here and from there, and then from that point of view over there as well. Because I cannot have and I cannot make firm decisions and choices if I don't see the full angles, you know? I'm making half choices and decisions that are clouded and shadowy. And then we wonder why we're feeding, well, the negative follows us around, or we're feeding negative charges. And the poverty consciousness just works just like that. Poverty consciousness in itself basically says that I'm not worth it. I will never get enough. I can never get ahead. And so what's the point of even trying to make it to the top, right? Instilled with the poverty consciousness, this lack mentality, or if you're a victim, right, you're stuck in that slave master cycle, the hierarchy of servitude, right? You don't see the sovereign worth of everybody, like I was talking about at the very beginning, this golden foundation, all of us containing an eternal flame that is itself the worth that you fuel your whole life with. This doesn't understand that at all. This thinks maybe we all have like a match that we need to learn how to light and keep going inside of us, and you've got to steal other people's matches, or their sticks that they've, you know, their wood choppings they've bundled up for the winter. You've got to go steal them to keep your fire burning. And that just isn't the way it works, because even if you took that approach, one day will come when you have no more sticks to steel out there and your flame goes out, that your thing go, your stores are gone, and you'll see just a smoldering, and you think it will go out, and you'll sit by the embers and cry forever, for as long as it takes, until you open your eyes and realize that that ember's still burning there, that it didn't go out. There's still a little tiny little coal burning down in there, that if you choose to breathe on it, boy, it will catch fire again, and it will burn that matchstick just as it was lit for the first time, and you'll say, holy crap, I never knew. I never knew. And I've been out there stealing everybody else's, and if I had just taken the time to look at my own and to remember, right, then there's such a beautiful lesson in that. And I could cry thinking about it every time, because I spent years and years on this hard lesson, and I spent so much time out there, looking out there, thinking it was, and thinking in here wasn't enough, that when I finally got the break point to understand that metaphor, and I did that working, or you fall off the cliff, or you realize the end, you try to take your life and you realize it didn't work, or you think you're going to die and you don't, or you think it's over and you have nothing left. And then the dawn breaks, you face your worst case scenario. You face homelessness. You have nowhere to go. You're living in a car. And the sun will still rise tomorrow. And what do you do then, right? So many of us have to go through these hard lessons, because we have to realize that will break that victimization, or it will break you. That will break you out of poverty consciousness, or it will cement you into it and break you. It depends on the way you need to learn, and how long it takes for you, and how long it's going to take for you inside to be able to face your own one truth, and to realize that you have been running from it and lying to yourself about it the whole time. Conscious awareness and growth and soul evolution, it's very individual. We're all here for different reasons, different lives, different times. How many times we need these lessons is not right for me to say. But for me, this time around, I have gained traction. I have learned these things, and it didn't break me, and it's not going to break me this time. And it's been such an amazingly powerful message and understanding that now I really feel empowered to just have to share it and have to help others. And hopefully, I'm helping others. I'm helping myself and the great other and source, just by speaking out my truth right now. And that's really why I make these videos and what it's all about to me, because and yeah, it's in my chart, and it's my astrology, my numerology also speaks to, research and information, and a great gathering of knowledge. I love that. That's what, I do. But the sharing and the speaking out of truth, and being able to show progression and say it is possible and it does happen is the greatest gift and the greatest service that I can possibly ever offer. And it also harnesses into this feeling of abundance, of overflowing wealth that I tap into when I make videos, when I share information, when I write blogs or I write books, even when I just speak to people and chat, or get into meditation groups, or get into groups where we're talking about book clubs and things like that, sharing of information, that kind of stuff. I feel abundant when doing. I feel prosperous. I feel alive and energized, full of full of positivity, and available positive growth is unlimited when I'm in that space and doing those things and sharing that kind of energetic work. And that's the truth in the real world working of abundance. And it happens at all levels of quote unquote wealth, or looking like in this structuring of the world. Back to the negative 3D overlay, the hierarchy and the slave model, right? They have huge investments in everybody believing they're a slave, and believing that all I'm talking about feeling abundant is nonsense. And that, how dare I even say that because I don't have any money in the bank? How dare I even say that because I don't make any money in a year? How dare this girl even talk about feeling wealthy when she doesn't have any, a mansion, or she's not living in like off-grid completely and have some kind of plot of land where she's totally sustainable and has like a huge garden where she can visually show this massive food, and that's why she feels abundant. Or I can't go down in my basement and show like 5 months worth of canned goods and whatever, freeze-dried things, or all these things we stockpile. So how dare I say I'm abundant, or I can feel abundance? And that is that poverty mentality screaming. That's a lack, shadow, and it's a debt-based mind that is saying, forcing those parameters, forcing those 3D solid things onto energetic working and onto spiritual working and alchemy. And it's way too heavy. It's not constructed for that. It's not of that density. And who's to say I think it's a bringing of dimensions. I don't want to get too much. I'm going to get off topic on densities and dimensions. Sorry. Anyways, my main point is that poverty consciousness is as strong as each of us allows it. You will be trapped in it for however long that you feel necessary. And it is a never-ending pit out there because you'll never amass enough. You can have millions of dollars in the bank. You could have stocks. You could have bonds, gold and silver stocked up. You could have all those things I talked about with like a storage in the basement and months of food or bunkers. And it's never enough. It will never be enough. Because it's, like I said, you're trying to fill an energetic space with clunky, solid 3D items, and it doesn't work that way. The heart is looking for different workings to ignite. And I'm also can speak from that, and I talked about that in my side video on abundance a bit, because I had chances and presented to have comfortability and money and security and all those kinds of things, and it didn't fulfill me. And you can see so many people talk about that, people who've won the lottery and it did, change their life in a terrible way, or even people who've had it all and were born into riches and they're not happy. We see that even in a great story like Buddha, not happy, born a prince, there is something, it's undeniable about that working. And poverty consciousness or lack mentality, it's such an angle, it's a whole avenue, I really believe, of karmatic energetic working, of alchemy, of lessons, and maybe it's like a marble, where you're making a statue of it and picking away at all these different hard spots, right? Like smoothing out things and defining features, and everybody has to amass this angle of working over here, until you can move on, or until you could recognize your true abundance. So I try to keep these videos short, and I've already brought it to about 20 minutes. I kind of talked more about getting out of poverty mentality and giving comparisons to it than really talking about what it is. Now, I kind of did that because it's pretty obvious what it is, and it's very negatively oriented to just say, I feel when I make videos and I just list off all these negative things that pretty much we're all already conscious about what it is to feel poverty and what it is to feel destitute or have nothing or whatever. And so that's why I wanted to try to bring, like I do with these videos sometimes, give a quick tour of the iceberg, but also talk about more of my angle of it, or what I see the working to be, or the misconceptions around it mostly. So I hope that I have given just a brief touch on that. And I am going to do a side video on my own kind of personal experience a little bit more, and also talk more in depthly about the specific mind control tactics of poverty consciousness. I'm going to angle that more in a negative agendas video under the tricks and traps segment that I've been doing over on BitChute only. And then I'll break down sort of what I see as like the tentacles of control and all these mechanisms that the negative agenda has created and uses within the matrix to really seed and work with poverty consciousness, because it fits perfectly into the slave model, which I'm talking about in that whole segment over there about the progression of the archons throughout time, who they are, and I'm about to be getting into their working and how they use this template over time throughout spaces and cultures to destroy them and take them over and harness their energy and steal it, wipe them out, and just keep it moving, basically, to just try to keep their darkness growing and fueled and moving. So if you're interested in all that and you found me over on YouTube, then check me out on BitChute. That whole segment of videos is over there, and like I said, I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into the tactic and techniques over in that video. So thank you so much for joining me here for episode number 23 on Comprehending Consciousness. I hope you found it to be a different take on lack mentality and poverty consciousness. And I hope that if you haven't seen any of my other videos, you could definitely go check those out. In the meantime, you can always find me over on Telegram at t.me_Marie_speaks, and you can also find me on amariespeaks.com. So thanks so much again for joining me and listening to my story. I really appreciate everybody who tunes in and watches, and I want to thank you here at the end for your service to the collective as well out there. Do your alchemizing, your shadow work, do searching and seeking, find truth for yourself, whatever it is. Never be scared to look at things, right, for what they are. And find me next time.